Hi everyone, I'm Heather Poduska, star maker for entrepreneurs who want to unlock their potential, command any stage, and make blockbuster profits. Welcome to Thrive, the show where I bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a brand that makes you happy and profitable. Here we go.
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Poduska, and welcome to this episode of Thrive, how to bring home more profits and take-home pay from your business, with my guest, Wendy Sabin. Wendy Sabin is a profit strategist who teaches entrepreneurs how to create highly profitable, streamlined business models that align with their passions. After working for years in international hedge funds doing tax returns for billionaires, Wendy launched her own entrepreneurial journey and helped more people take home more pay. On this episode, Wendy shares with us what we really need to do to make more profits, not just generate income, but bring home more pay from the businesses we work so hard in. She talks to us about over-investing and under-investing in our businesses. And we also have a deep discussion about that crazy monkey mind that gets in our way and causes so much shame that stops us from doing the things that we really need to do to take care of business in our business. Wendy is one of the smartest people I've ever met. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi everyone, I'm Heather Poduska, and welcome to Thrive, the show where we bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a successful business and live a more abundant life. Today we're going to talk about something everyone loves. No, it's not chocolate, it's profits. And let's face it, if you have enough profits, you can buy all the chocolate you want. Today I'm really excited because I have a very special guest with me here. Wendy Sabin is a business consultant, a profit strategist, and a former corporate CPA who worked in international hedge funds for 15 years doing tax management for billionaires. Yes, that's billion with a B. Wendy now brings her financial savvy to help entrepreneurs and small business owners create lucrative and streamlined business models so they can dramatically increase their profits and minimize their expenditures. Wendy also has the extra special credential of being from my home state of Wisconsin. So please help me welcome my homegirl, Wendy Sabin.
Thank you, Heather. I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, I'm so thrilled. I'm thrilled to have you, another girl from Wisconsin here in Boston. So it's very exciting.
It is.
And before we get started, there's something very serious before we jump into profits that I have to ask you. Okay. Packers or Patriots?
Oh, gosh. It had to be that one, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. I have been in Boston now for about 17 years. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more the Patriots.
Good girl.
Packers.
Good girl.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly are the cutest team in the NFL.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Without question.
So let's talk about this a little bit. How did you actually get from Wisconsin to Boston? What was your journey?
Oh, absolutely. Well, when I was a sophomore, when I was a sophomore in college, I did a study abroad in Scotland. And that was my first time out of the country. Honestly, it was only the second airplane trip I'd ever taken.
Wow.
And it was like, oh my God, there's this world outside my hometown. And it was wonderful. And so I decided to join a business organization when I was in college. And through that organization, I actually got my first job out of college working for one of the Big Six accounting firms. It was Big Six at the time, for Ernst & Young in England.
Oh.
So my first job was in England. And after I picked up enough of an accent, picked up an affinity for Indian food, and I realized that some areas of the accounting and the work that I was doing, I didn't want to do those anymore. I was like, well, geez, I can't really go back to Wisconsin now because I've, seen a taste of the big wide world, right? And so I thought Boston is small enough and yet large enough to accommodate a woman who was really terrified to drive in Boston for the first 3 years.
Oh, I totally hear that.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up here.
Well, it sounds really sexy, right? I mean, this international travel and working with international hedge funds and billionaires and tax. Well, okay, so the tax part doesn't sound sexy to me. But it just sounds like this really glamorous life and career, and now you've shifted gears. So what made you decide to make that change?
Well, it was really 5 years ago now. I was pregnant with my daughter, and realized shortly after, having a baby, and I'd been doing taxes at that point for 15 years. And everybody knows about tax season, right? Even if you're not working it, the accountants are really hoofing it during tax season. I'm like, I cannot do this with a little one. And so when she was born, I think I did about 2 more tax seasons after that, and it's like, I'm ready for something new that I can actually control my own hours on my terms, as opposed to Uncle Sam or the Department of Revenue or whatever governing agency I had to be doing something with.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever they decided.
Yeah, so you, not only did you shift careers, but you shifted your perspective a little bit too, from doing tax management, and now you have the moniker of profit strategist. So tell me a little bit what that means. I don't know if everybody knows or has ever heard of what a profit strategist is before.
Absolutely. So what I did essentially was take all the experience that I had. When I first moved to Boston, I was working with a lot of small businesses and tech startups. That was in the late 1990s. And then I decided I wanted to keep traveling, so then I worked for the hedge funds. And they had offices in Dublin, Ireland. So I traveled extensively between Boston and Dublin for years.
Wow.
And learned a lot about what billion-dollar companies and investment strategies and things like that. And then once I met my husband and wanted to stop traveling, he travels extensively with his own job, and then I knew I needed something more local, so then I decided to take a position with a more local firm with a 10-minute commute. And that was I wasn't working with clients at that point. I was working for a company, and I was part of the finance department, working on the tax for a $400 million company. And I was the only one who was doing it.
Wow.
And yeah, so, and it was a different type of industry. So it was a big shift from that perspective, but it was GE. So world-class strategies with respect to investing in your business, doing what's best for the business, to be able to maximize profit. And then once I had my daughter, it's not just about profit. It's about profit, making money in your business in a way that serves you and takes care of you, your financial goals, and takes care of your family, and the amount of effort and time that you actually want to put into your business.
So I think that's something that you and I have talked about before, that entrepreneurs work so hard in their businesses, and we wear so many different hats, where some of us not, bookkeepers, right? And marketers and CEOs and client managers and all of these different roles that we play, administrators. And I know that you've talked about this before, that it's really important to know where to put your energy and your time in your business, because we're working so hard. And then some people are really rocking it out and making a lot of money, and others are spending all this energy and this time, and they don't have as much to show for it.
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about that. How do you help people really understand, how do you translate the GE mentality and help the lowly entrepreneur understand
the esteemed entrepreneur.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right. It's the same kind of thing. And it's really about focusing the effort or the investment of your time or investment of your financial resources for the things that are going to give you the biggest return on investment. And honestly, it might not always be investing in your business. It might be investing in an area of your life where you're currently spending a lot of your mental time and spending a lot of time to get certain things in your life done. And it might make more sense to actually get more time in your business by outsourcing some of the things that you're doing in your personal life.
So are you giving me permission to get a nanny and a cook and a cleaning lady and what else? What else can I outsource?
I was going to say, that sounds like a chauffeur.
A chauffeur, there you go. There you go.
Well, those aren't business expenses, but it certainly makes your, running your business a lot easier when you know that you have dedicated support in other areas of your life, if those areas are really stressful for you at this time.
Well, even if they're not, you only have so much creative energy.
Exactly.
And if your brain, if you have children, if you have, we all have busy lives, and if your mind is soaked up by these activities that maybe even aren't we talk a lot about this in entrepreneurship, aren't your zone of genius. I'm not a bookkeeper, and that makes my head spin. So if I'm sitting there, it makes more sense for me to outsource something like that.
It does.
So that I have more creative energy to be more savvy with my business and to be more creative with how I have solutions margins for my clients too. So I love that. I love that. So tell me, like, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making to derail their profits?
Okay, I was thinking of this on the way over, and it really is they're either over-investing in their business or they're under-investing in their business.
So how do you know?
Okay, well, so over-investing in your business, you're making a lot of money, but you don't have a lot of money. People that clients that I work with say, I'm making good money, but I still feel broke. Because there's still just not enough. They still feel like it's like this, shell game where they're moving money around from account to account, even though they're making 5 figures a month or more, or multiple fives a month. It's not enough so something's got to give. You've got to take a look at the spending, and you also have to take a look at the revenue to make sure that things are priced appropriately. If people have staff, or if businesses have staff, things tend to get much more expensive much more quickly. Because staff, if they're on payroll, then you have to pay them whether or not they're getting results. And if it's a consultant, then you're paying them only when they're working for you, but there's still an expense, and you might not know if you're actually getting results from them. In terms, and when I say results, I mean, do you have a customer service team that's trying to upsell or cross-sell or downsell for you? So that, that they're, every person on your team has an opportunity to increase your revenue because they care about your business and they want you to, they want you to get the results, and obviously you have to manage them and lead them in a way that they want to do that as well.
Right.
But
so I loved what you just said, because when you're speaking, I'm like, well, that's why she's a strategist. You're not just saying ditch your sales team or ditch your support staff.
Right,
it's
right.
Have a strategy for them so that they can be successful and that it can really enhance your profits.
Exactly.
So let's go the other direction. What is an example of someone under-investing in their business, and how is that, you think you're not spending as much, so you maybe are keeping more of your revenue, but how is that impacting your profits?
Well, anybody who's under-investing in their business has got to be just exhausted because they are doing too much, not outsourcing enough, terrified to let go, terrified to write the check. People have different things. They're control freaks. I'm one of them too, so I don't say it in a bad way. Wanting to keep control over certain processes, even though it's not contributing to their bottom line. I'm going to do my books no matter what, and not getting the support, expert support. And some people are just really afraid to pay, and it's not a control issue, but they're afraid to actually write a check out to somebody because it's like, oh, I worked so hard for it, I don't want to give it away. Yeah. But it is a form of freeing up, when you outsource certain tasks in your business, then you get the opportunity to have more time to do the things that are going to bring in the revenue.
Right, and also you might be outsourcing something to someone who's making, $25, $50, $75 an hour, and you're making $1,000 an hour.
Absolutely.
And then it makes absolute sense to outsource.
Exactly.
Financial sense. But let's talk a little bit about mindset, because my whole body was tensing up as you were talking about the person that doesn't want to write that check. And, I get that sense, like, if you have an unexpected bill come up or, your cash flow is tight, and you do get that, like, constriction of, that money fear. So talk to me a little bit about your mindset and your profitability.
Okay. Gosh, mindset and profitability. Well, that's a big topic.
You have 5 seconds. Go.
I know. Okay. All right. So mindset's really important. No. So with respect to mindset, you really have to be aware of the way that you have handled money in your life prior to this point. This honestly wasn't something that I was even very familiar with before I started my business. I have always been really good with money. It's been part of my career, known what to do with it, always invested, always saved, always, took the responsible actions with money.
And that's why you're an accountant.
But not everybody's like that. Not everybody grows up with that mentality. And so, for instance, take a look at how your mom and your dad dealt with money growing up. And for me, my mom was a saver, and my dad was a spender. So it's this paradox of like, oh gosh, I love to spend money, but I also love to save money, and I love knowing that I have a big bank balance. And so the first step is really being aware of what those patterns were so that you can start to shift them as your awareness comes into play. Because it could be that maybe, you know, this saving mentality, that's what, you know, like that's where you're terrified to write out the check, because you're like, oh, but it's my savings. It's like, this is, you know, this is my retirement fund, or, you know, you're not taking money out of your retirement fund, but this could have gone to my retirement fund, and start thinking about things possibly a little bit differently, like, oh, this is going to help me grow my business so that I can, you know, in the next year generate more revenue, which results in more profit, which then funds my retirement fund.
Yeah.
So thinking of the long-term impact of the investments that you're making in your business, not just that, like, oh my God, it's $500 and it's gone forever.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the things that people often feel to talk about it. So how do you get over that hurdle when the only way to fix it is to address it?
And really the only way to fix it is to address it, because
But how do you help someone who's got that? Like, what do you say to them when they're feeling that?
right. The biggest thing for anybody who's feeling that, Heather, to know is that we have all been there. It happens across the board. It does not matter. I have had clients in tears over the things that they have done.
And are those clients people just starting out, or are they clients that have been in business a while?
Both.
Both.
Yes, established businesses, well-established businesses, big names. I have clients, you know, who thought that they'd be further along in their business than they are, than they actually are, because they don't know where to invest for the best return. They don't know the best way to use some of the resources that they have. And so the biggest thing that I let people know is that it happens to everybody. And then also really just try to create a safe space where we can, like, just let it all out, okay? Because let's just get all the details that we need to figure out a plan going forward. And there's such comfort when you have a plan and you're like, okay, this was before, now I have a plan, and this is what I'm going to do going forward.
Right.
And then it's just like things, you just don't have to worry about what happened. When I was on vacation last week in Maine, and in they had a sign in one of the gift shops, and it said, "Don't look back, you're not going that way."
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that a good one? I've
Yeah.
never heard that before. And it was like, that's the thing, is really just focusing on the future. I mean, whatever mess has occurred, acknowledge it. And odds are the mess that's occurred, if there has been one, whatever the degree it is, it's given you some lessons. And take the lessons, pay off whatever it is that needs to be paid off.
Yeah.
And just move forward.
Well, but honestly, I mean, that's why it's so wonderful to have someone like you who's a supportive, empowering mentor. Because we all know knowledge is power, right? I mean, if you don't know your numbers, you don't have any power. But once you understand your numbers and you have a strategy,
Right.
and someone walking you through that process and saying, you know, turn left here, turn right here.
Exactly.
This is the plan, and we're going to tweak it as we go. Then all of a sudden, you feel like, I can do this, and I've got someone that's got my back. So, I mean, and you're such a lovely woman. You don't bite.
Not at all.
So that would be somebody who maybe worked with you, and you helped them, mentor them along with their finances. But I believe it takes a village to grow a business. So
It does.
talk to me a little bit about your path of development and what kinds of things that have been helpful for you along the way, and either in terms of resources, of maybe things that you've learned through books or mentors. What have been sort of the most significant things that have really boosted you along?
Oh my gosh, so many. But I have to say, I'm a lifelong learner, and I love learning. I did my master's degree, and I was like, oh, it didn't honestly occur to me that you could do learning in other areas other than your career. When I was doing it, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go do my master's. And so I took a little bit of a hiatus from learning after that was done, because I was exhausted. And then, you know, I'm a CPA, so I still have to take courses and things like that. But it was about a year and a half ago, somebody gave me a book as a gift, and I read it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the missing thing. This is,
And what was the missing thing?
Oh, it was...
Please tell us.
Oh, so the book was, what was it? Living Your Best Year Ever by Darren Hardy.
I was going to say Darren Hardy, yeah.
Yes. And it was just about this goal setting and all this different things to really get the life that you want to lead. And then I was just like a sponge, an absolute consumer. I don't know really how much money I've spent on Amazon in the last year and a half, but it's probably more than 3 figures, I'd say. I love it. I read every day. Absolutely. And I'm also constantly listening to positive motivational material. And I have to say, it makes a tremendous difference. And one of the things I know Darren says, I'm a big fan of him, is becoming a student, not just a consumer of information. So keep consuming the same information over and over and over again, because every time you hear it, every time you read it, you're at a different place, and you have a different understanding.
Yeah, and I always think of that as, I always talk about that as being a spiral. Sometimes it can be a problem that you have too, and you're like, man, I have this problem again. I thought I already addressed that, but you don't. You see it at a different level, and then you go up. I was just at Fenway this weekend, and we went up the different levels.
Right, yeah.
So you see it in a different perspective, just like what you're saying, and I love that. Don't just like consume to consume, but integrate it into your life.
Exactly. Right. So you consume whatever material it is, and you take the best and leave the rest. Like, you don't have to do everything, right? But I've got books I've read more than 6 times, I would say, in the last
So what have been like the top 1 to 3 pieces of advice that you've read or learned? Be a learner and not just a consumer. What are a couple of other gems that you've collected?
The morning routine. First thing when you get up, what you need to do in order to kind of get your head on straight.
So I think I'm going to make this a regular question of this show of what is your morning routine?
Okay, so my morning routine, I get up. I don't actually set the alarm, but I'm pretty much always up at about 5:37 every day. And
wait, 5:37?
About 5:37.
See, you're such an accountant. About 5:37.
It's about 5:37. I just look over, I'm like, oh yeah, I knew it was going to be 5:37.
Okay, so 5:37.
So do a little bit of meditation or prayer and visualization, affirmations, reading or positive material, listening to some positive motivational materials. And if my husband's around and I can take a walk, then I try to take a walk, or if the weather's nice. Otherwise, I take a walk a little bit later in the day. And then always, I come in after that and it's like, whew, okay, I'm in a good space. I've got my head on straight to tackle, and in that walk, I really think about my goals for the day, the priorities for the week and things like that, to make sure I map things out so I can get things done.
Yeah, I think goal planning is huge. And I think the morning routine is huge. I remember a few years back I was in some kind of a entrepreneurial group online, and someone posted something about, I just meditated this morning. What do you do to set your morning routine? And I said something like, well, I get up and I clean the house and I do the dishes and I make sure the kids have their homework done and And it was not until a while later that I started sort of really taking time to do my morning routine. And one of the things that I really came to understand is that it's about valuing yourself.
That's exactly it.
You're not a servant. Whether you're a parent or a mom or a dad, to take that time to value yourself. When you have to fill your well, and then you can give.
Right.
No matter if it's in your business or with your family or whatever.
Right.
So I'm a big believer in.
I find my days are much better when I have at least an hour to myself. I'm more patient in my work, more patient with my family, just more grounded and centered for the rest of the day. Yeah. And then it also is a good reminder, when you have those stressful times, it's like, okay, just take a step back, go through a mini morning routine. I mean, even just a minute of like meditation or looking outside or something like that. A lot of times I'll just sometimes take quick little walks around the neighborhood just to kind of like reset.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is really great, you mentioned travel, and not everybody can do international travel, but I think travel is such a huge thing. I actually was just back in the homeland of the Midwest.
I know.
And I was just there for a couple of days. It was just for a family thing, but I came back and I was like, wow, I got this new idea, I had this new perspective, and it was a little a little reset. And, you know, I re-entered my life,
Right,
but I
right.
had just that little breather.
I hear you. We were up in Maine over Memorial Day weekend, and it was, or for the week actually, and it was fantastic to just like reconnect with nature. And I don't know that I've ever actually had a 10-day vacation, but we intentionally decided to make it just a little bit longer than normal. 10 days was long enough that I came back home and I was like, oh wait, I live here? Because I forgot like exactly what my kitchen looked like.
It must have been some vacation.
I know, it was just the change of scenery.
Yeah.
It was so profound.
Yeah.
Because sometimes 7 days, I mean, when you have kids, like it takes a day or two to unwind, and then it's like, oh man, then we got to pack up.
Yeah.
And so that last day might not be as relaxed as, say, the middle of the trip.
Yeah. Well, I want to shift gears for just a second because I'm
Absolutely.
staring at your necklace, and that is a power necklace if I've ever seen one. It's gorgeous. So you look beautiful.
Thank you very
Talk
much.
to me, because I like fashion, I have to admit it. So talk to me about your image and how your image plays into your business and your brand and all of those things, because I'm a brand strategist, so I've got to ask about that.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do so. And well, just refreshing on my career path, it has been accounting. I remember when I first started, I bought like 6 suits at Macy's. And then shortly after, we went to business casual, which was then like khakis and twin sets.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the path. And I was like, man, it didn't even occur to me until I started my business and I started looking at successful entrepreneurs and how they pull themselves together, at what a difference image makes.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying the show. There's still more great content to come, but I wanted to take just a minute to talk to you about a new course I've created called Close Any Room. You may have noticed that all of my guests know how to speak about their businesses in a clear and compelling way. But that's something a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, and it's something you need to know how to do so you can convert your audience into more sales. And that's why I've created this course. It's a 6-week audio course to teach you how to craft a signature talk so that you can authentically give value and close more of your audience from the stage. In the class, you learn how to create a clear and compelling point of view, how to organize your content and give great value to your audience without giving away the farm, how to structure your talk so that it seamlessly closes your audience at the end without feeling salesy. And I also give you templates and instructions how to create marketing materials, a speaker sheet, and all kinds of sign-up sheets when you're giving your talks. And finally, what everybody's hot to know, I also give you tips and resources on how to find speaking gigs. It's an all-inclusive course so that you can start closing and selling more from the stage. And as my free gift to you for tuning into the podcast, I'm giving you my free webinar, also called Close Any Room, and you can listen to it at clearvoicebranding.com/close-any-room. And it will give you lots of tips and information to get you started on how to create that signature talk that sells. Okay, we're going to get back to the show now. There's still more great content to come. Thanks for joining me. You know, and another thing that I think is so wonderful about entrepreneurship and about brand is that you're not confined to the brand of your company. Exactly. But that can also be hard for people because it's maybe the first time that they've ever had to think about how they want to show up and how they want to express themselves. Did you have any of that? Like,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
because you look fantastic.
Oh,
and
thank
you're in alignment with your brand and your message and your expertise. So I think it can be a challenge and also fun.
Oh, yes. It definitely was a challenge. And I would have to say I credit anything to do with my image
no,
to
no,
you.
no.
No, I have to because it is not something anybody else. I couldn't have pulled it out on my own, Heather. I really couldn't have.
But you wear it well, madame. But
I graciously accept.
Okay. But talk about how, the difference that it made you feel to have that freedom and then also to take ownership of your image.
That was pretty powerful because I remember thinking when I quit my job, I'm like, I am never wearing khakis again. I'm like, but wait a minute, they're kind of comfortable. And
well, when you sail around Martha's Vineyard and you have your topsiders on,
I know. So I decided, and then I also made the decision, at the time, which I had never shared with you, that I didn't want to wear black ever again.
It looks so good on you.
Because it was so like dour, and I didn't know how to dress myself. I really didn't. And I just, had a long history of not feeling really comfortable in the clothes because I didn't know how to dress. And it became clear to me once I became an entrepreneur that this is something I have to figure out because it affected my own perception of my own value. And when I say value, then it's also like what I can charge.
Right.
As well as what other people saw me as. And I will tell you, this necklace, it gets attention.
Yeah.
It's not intended. I mean, I never intended. I was just like, please give me accessories that look nice.
But
the difference between this compared to the other stuff, the other things that I would have chosen on my own, I would have, I wouldn't be where I am without it, honestly.
Yeah, and I remember seeing an interview with, he was in a gangster movie. It was some recent thing, and I don't remember what it was, but in the movie he wore a trench coat a lot, and he talked about that being part of his character's uniform, and that was his armor.
Yes.
His character's armor, because he was, a warrior as this gangster. And I think that when you have certain things like that you can anchor your brand on, makes a really big difference. It's just like, whew, I'm in my zone, man.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I feel fantastic with everything that, I feel fantastic with my look.
Yes, you look great.
I really feel like it fits me in a way that I've actually never had before. Yeah,
you look fantastic. I just had to say it because
thank you.
You look beautiful. So talking about power and value, give us some tips of what we can do right now to really start to think about increasing our profits. What are a couple of tips that we can look at our businesses and say, it doesn't have to be something specific, but what do we need to start thinking about in terms of, I know you and I have had conversations before about marketing versus profit.
Right.
So maybe with that spin on it, what do we need to start thinking about to really move in the direction of profit? And profit also meaning take home in your pocket profit, right?
Yes.
Versus I'm making a lot of money, but I'm spending a lot of money in my business.
Exactly. So I guess a real practical tip that I would say is take a look at your biggest 3 to 5 expenses that you've had in the last, like consistent monthly expenses that you've had in the last 3 months. And look to see how much revenue those actually returned for you. And it might be you made an investment in your business for something, or maybe you have a team. Is that investment giving you immediate returns? And if it is, that's fantastic. And think about, okay, am I happy with the level of return that I'm getting with the revenue boost that I'm getting? And if so, carry on, right?
Yeah.
And if not, think about what you can do differently in order to increase the return that you get on there. And if you've made an investment in your business and it has not given you a return in the form of increased revenue, then you have to think about, how can I get the most out of this investment? Have I, did I invest in a strategy that I haven't executed yet? Have I invested in staff that is underdeveloped? Have I invested in something that I never should have invested in? I'm just going to cut my losses, take the lesson, never do it again, and move forward. So those are some things to really think about with respect to investing, because the sooner you can, and when I talk about investing, there's expenses too. Like we spend money on things that aren't going to get a return. And so just take a look at those and say, do I really need it for where I am right now? And if you do, then that's fine, and you're going to have to find a way to sell more. If you wanted to, right? If you
That's a good motivator.
Right. So you have to think about, what needs to change? Is it your revenue or is it your expenses?
Yeah, and all I can think about as you're talking is all the money I'm just investing on kids' camps. How am I going to get my return on investment in that?
Well, you get your return on investment in the fact that you have time to work on your business over summer.
And I love my children, so I get their eternal gratefulness.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I mean, that was a practical tip, and I think, all of us need to look at those things and be able to do it again without shame.
Yes.
I made this investment, I shouldn't have. I didn't get the ROI that I wanted, or this person isn't doing what I need them to do,
Yeah.
I have to make this business decision. But as long as you're in integrity,
Right.
then I think that you can move forward. And
Absolutely.
so that was great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So tell me, just before we sign off, how do you work with people, Wendy?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I work with people one-on-one, and then I also have group retreats that I host in order to help get people get the profit strategy that they need figured out, so they can look at the cash flow for their business, the profits, how they can pay themselves. So many entrepreneurs are not actually paying themselves. There's a lot of talk out there about, you know, charging what you're worth.
Yes.
But it's not about paying yourself what you're worth. And this idea of, I know I've mentioned investing a lot. That is the trend for overinvesting. We've got to rein it in, and that's one of the things I really help people make good decisions about when to invest in their business and what to invest. Are they investing in team? Are they investing in coaching? Are they investing in different areas that can support them in their business that are going to let them reach their goals?
Great.
So I work with people one-on-one and in a group setting in order to focus on the big picture first. Everything else, once you have that big picture profit strategy figured out, every decision that you need to make from that point forward is so much easier. What kind of marketing you should do, where you should be spending your money, where you should be spending your time. You know, do you send the kids to camp for 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Like, these are the kind of questions once you know, like when you have a goal, you know, let's look at the big picture first and then break it down. And, you know, everything that I do, like I said before, it's focusing on profit, but it's in a way that honors exactly the way that you want to spend your time and your resources.
Yeah, that sounds great. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, what's the information? Give us the phone one.
So simply send me an email to wendy@wendysabin.com. That's wendy@wendysabin.com.
That's S-A-B-I-N.
S-A-B-I-N, yeah,
Right.
B as in boy.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was
Thank
a
you
total
so much.
blast. And I would be very sad not to have another Wisconsin girl around to commiserate with.
Oh my gosh, Heather, I was delighted when I found out that you were from Wisconsin.
Was it the accent? Did it give it away?
No, it was the fact you said you did a study abroad in Germany.
Oh, that's right.
And I thought, she must be from Wisconsin.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Heather. Really
And thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much for being here. Until next time, here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Thrive. I loved having you here. I love having you as part of my community. And if you're enjoying the show, I would love it if you share it with your friends on Twitter, on Facebook, or wherever they're hanging out. I also want to let you know you can leave me feedback or comments. I love hearing from you. Just post those at heatherpoduska.com. You can also leave suggestions for topics that you'd like to know more about, or if there's someone you'd really like to see on the show, let me know that as well. Okay, until next time, here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care. Bye-bye.